Hi everyone, I'm Kelly Fuge. Thank you for watching this. In all of these videos I keep saying, this will be the first one you see. And so, if whatever video you're watching is not the first one that you see, then just know that hopefully this one is the first one that you see. I feel ridiculous, but like, I realized in all these other videos that I wasn't being serious enough, and I'm afraid of like hurting people's feelings, but I need to be more serious about these topics, so I'm working towards it. I'm working towards making this video the first one that people see, or whatever, come back to. Is I'm working towards making it a shorter, more concise message more and more. So the first one will be the first one. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to title this one How to Save the World. And because I came up with a specific plan and three specific things that I want to get other people's help with. Physical things in the real world, things we need to communicate about, things that are being swept under the rug that people don't want to talk about, that, you know, people tend to argue or judge each other about. And so anyway, I came up with this word. It's a combination of the word veganism and the word, or vegan and the word anarchy. So it's veganarchy. So in the next videos you're going to watch, I explain how if we want true human freedom, we need to work towards being vegans, which means that we need to work towards, truly, in the most serious way I can express without hurting anyone's feelings, getting off of meat and animal products. We're not going to be able to accomplish freedom for humanity, a better world, etc., anarchy, which means without rulers. We won't have a world without rulers. We won't have a world of true anarchy and true freedom for humanity if we continue to do what we're doing to animals. And I thought that, so in order to care about those two things, right? If you really want a better world, why do you want a better world? Well, of course, you want it for a better future for the children. And I'm in Michigan right now visiting my friend who I love and who's awesome. And I'm at a park right now, and there are kids, you know, around, and it's like, just interact with a kid, just care in that way, realize that they are going to have to grow up in this totally like devastated world that we're leaving them. And I'm gonna propose like 3 simple ways that, and things that I need help with, that it doesn't have to be that way. And we need to focus on that in our own communities. So like, I'm gonna get into this. So besides working towards veganism, besides working towards anarchy, which means we need to care that the government is doing all these horrible things, is ruling over human beings. In order to care about that, we need to get off of eating meat and animal products, because it's putting us in an enslaved mindset, because we are enslaving and mass murdering animals. So if you care about children and you care about the future of the planet and the world and the kind of world that they're going to be living in, and you care about how children are being treated, because children are the next most vulnerable creatures to beings to animals in our world, then in order to care about those things, you have to have a clear mind, and you have to want your communities to have a clear mind, and you have to want to work on that together with other people. And so therefore there has to be a concrete way that we're all working towards that. So if we come off of meat and animal products, we will not have that enslaved and herded and negative, abused animal energy within our minds and within our bodies, because when we consume animals, we consume the memory of what we've done to them, besides it just being wrong in the first place. So I'm trying to give this video a more serious tone, because I know that people won't want to hear this. I know that especially people within the groups that I'm a part of online that talk about anarchy and talk about true freedom and talk about the fact that we don't need government and talk about natural law. They're not going to want to hear that we cannot continue doing what we're doing to animals in any way. The goal needs to be working off of it. The goal does not need to be, oh, we can just minimize it and have a homestead and have some chickens and have, because it's not going to work. Because now, even just think of it this way, you're losing focus, because that's not healthy for the children. Look, you guys, feeding children death, which is feeding them dead animal bodies, is not good for them. And it's not good for the adults in their lives to be on that diet either. And I'm telling you this because I love you. And there are a number of people in my life with children that need to hear this in this stronger way. And if they need to take a break from me for a little bit because they really don't want to hear it, that's fine. But they do need to hear it. So that's why I'm making this video now. So, if we want a better planet for the children, the thing we also need to do is to, within our own communities, grow our own food so that we can take care of our own food and shelter without having to rely on money, so that our attention is not being taken away from the children. And that will also help us get away from the distraction of now basically our phones are our computers. And I was talking with my friend Conrad about this last night. And hopefully in this video I can make it short enough to share these other things I want to talk about. But the other thing that I know the more conscious people online who I've been talking to, who talk about how we're going to accomplish true anarchy and freedom for humanity, the other thing they're not going to want to hear is that most of the people that I talk to have been brought together by a man named Mark Passio, and Mark is not the be-all, end-all of information. And I know people are not going to want to hear that, and we need to focus even more. And I'm not saying we should stop listening to him, but I'm saying we need to just start communicating with each other. Leave him out of the equation. He wants to be left alone, clearly. So, fine. I have nothing against the guy. I have a lot of gratitude for him. But the person we need to be actually communicating with and talking to is Dan Alexander. So I'm going to link some of his videos. I'm going to link one of the Conrad Rogas' most recent episode called Breaking the Cycle, that was about a young woman breaking from her family that was abusing her and the other kids, and that's so, like, if we care about children and we care about what Conrad is talking about with this family, and we care about the type of world that we're creating, and we care about our own communities and the people within them and the children in them, like, we need to care about getting off of meat and animal products, and we need to care about ending the enslavement of animals. Like, I'm not trying to, like, create any kind of, like, that is really the priority, and you guys aren't taking this seriously enough. And I'm telling you that because I love you, and I want to try to create a group of people that can become focused on talking with Dan Alexander and taking away our focus from whatever Mark Passio has taught us, not to let go of it altogether, but to say, we have to go deeper, we have to try harder, we have to communicate better. And what Dan is trying to teach is how we use our words. It's as simple as that. So I'm not going to go into that any further, other than to link the videos that I think everyone needs to watch. I'm going to start a group of people online to become focused on these things. So if we do those things, if we talk to Dan to find out the most basic truth that we can find out about this thing that I'm trying to communicate, which is that we're not focused. We need to focus if we really do care about the children, And yeah, so I wrote some things. So that's how we save the planet. Because if we want a better world for the children, we're going to obviously want a better environment. And if you just open your eyes and look around and drive around this country like I have been. I've driven across the whole country pretty much, and most of what I've seen is an environment being completely devastated and ruined by the mass enslavement and murder of animals purely for human consumption. And that's not the kind of world I want any children of mine or any children that are in my life to grow up in, that's being completely devastated by that. Fields upon fields of agriculture, mainly corn and soy and hay, being used for raising animals purely for human consumption is not a good world to leave to children. Feeding children the dead bodies of animals that we mass murder daily by the billions is not a good thing to be feeding children or leaving children in any sort of way. And you guys aren't taking this seriously enough. And I'm fine if I have to keep repeating that, but even if a small group of people wants to focus on this with me, like even if 5 people, even if 3 people, it starts out with like, I need your help. This is a call to action. We have to do things differently, even within the group of people that I've found that is the most focused on these problems. And this goes to all my friends too. It's not like I'm just concerned about talking with people online. Like, my friends with kids have to hear this. My friends that are still stuck on eating meat and animal products have to hear this. If you want to help me in my life, what I'm trying to accomplish that can help all of us, you have to hear this. So I wrote, we have to have self-love and then extend it outward. And eating death and eating dead animals is not self-love. And I'm trying to say this in a loving way. And in order to accomplish self-love and love each other, we have to be honest with each other, which is what I'm trying to do right now. And honesty is not easy, and it's not easy to hear, but it is love, and it can be given lovingly. So, like, you'll notice I'm not putting anyone down. I'm not saying you're bad. I'm not judging people for eating what you eat, for living how you live. It's like, work towards it with the goal in mind that the ideal is going to be for humanity to be free and to leave a better world for the children. We have to work towards a plant-based diet for ourselves and the people close to us so that we can have clear minds, feed our children living, nourishing food. Don't feed our children death. Don't feed ourselves death, because what we're doing when we take that in is we're stuck in an animalistic mindset to now we prioritize those type of things where we are stuck on money and we are stuck on computing technology because our minds aren't clear. We're not in a good place for it. So in order to have living, thriving communities, we have to have a living, thriving food source, and we have to work on that together. And if we work on those things together, we will start to not even need money. We will start to not even need computing technology. And if you care about children, you're going to care about getting them off of the screens. You're going to care about putting them in, being with them in real nature, in real human interacting way, where they then grow their own self-love, and it's not extended, and it's not outside of them on a screen or on social media or on the internet or in money. If we prioritize, we will be able to help the children prioritize in their own lives. So we need to take veganism seriously in these groups online, talking about truth and freedom that were brought together by Mark Passio. We cannot just continue to pretend like it's nothing. And we need to take Dan Alexander seriously. And we need to talk with each other about why we need to take him seriously. So yeah, if we want to help the children, we got to stop feeding them death. And we got to stop, Conrad in this most recent episode was talking about how the children were being used for money. So we got to stop using them for money, obviously. But more importantly, like, if making money is distracting us from truly being there for our children, then we got to undo that, break that cycle in our own lives. So on the whole, what we do to animals is driving what we do to children. They are the next most vulnerable beings to animals. The things we can do for kids are become plant-based. So stop eating meat and animal products, stop eating death, stop contributing to that as an individual and then within our communities. And especially stop feeding our children that. We need to cut out money from our lives, not cut out in a dramatic or aggressive way, but let go of. And this will help if we start to get together and prioritize around the right thing of becoming plant-based, of growing our own food, of actually communicating to each other in a real way, which Dan Alexander can actually help us with, not Mark Passio. Then the cutting out money and cutting out like computing technology and screens will follow, and being dependent on the internet. Money is an addiction. Technology is an addiction, but the worst addiction that we got to work through and help each other work through is getting off of meat and animal products. So to these people online, the natural law crowd, people that I'm going to write this message to that I'll share in the next video, we can't ignore what we're doing to animals, because what we're doing to animals is the driving factor of what humanity is doing to children. So I'm going to read this message that Dan wrote me after I sent him this message that I'm going to send to these online groups. So he wrote me, "Try to keep in mind that the centuries of history and tradition that have heavily been manipulated and distorted are a lot for anyone to come out of without sticking to a few things that resonate with each individual." So I'm not trying to be aggressive. This is me, obviously, now talking. I'm not trying to be aggressive and say, everyone's got to become a vegan. You're such a bad person for not being vegan. I'm saying, let's agree that that is the goal that we want to be working towards, and we can help each other with that. So he's saying it's very hard for people to come out of the things that we've stuck to for centuries, right? Like, our parents did it. Our parents were abused. They abused us. Like, I'm not saying me specifically, but this is humanity's cycle overall. So we got to break the cycle. So we got to break what we're doing to animals. Like, as you know, this isn't a simple task whatsoever, but humanity is changing, as many can obviously see. Going back is not an option. Staying stagnant will spoil us. Going beyond this is frightening to most. No matter the choice people make, there is no easy solution, only a continual effort of making the changes for ourselves, and more importantly, the future of unborn children. So that's why I shared that. This all goes together. This isn't me just trying to make you guys feel bad that, you know, and it took me a while to become plant-based, but I am now. And so I'm trying to share that with other people, because I know that that's what would be best for them, and because I know that whatever is best for people in my life is going to be best for the children, because then they're going to have their heads on straight, so they can actually we can help each other raise the children in the right way, get them out of school, bring them together in our own adult communities, like just come together, just communicate together on the phone, you know, like get off of social media as much as we can, all of these things, right? It's gonna help the future of unborn children. And the way we do that is by making ourselves the best people we can possibly be to help the children in our lives now. So these are the videos I'm going to link. There's one where Dan Alexander talks about mineral memory and veganism in a plant-based diet. So just watch that. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I'm trying to keep this shorter. Another one is Letters Mean Things. And then The Living Word Volume 1, where he breaks down what the letters and numbers are, why it's so important to understand them, how they shape and create the fabric of reality, and how everything adds up and can be understood through the letters and numbers. And we're using English. It works in every other language. But if we understand this, we can understand how to communicate with each other in the most honest and heartfelt way. And then I'm going to link a video that he made called Children, the short one titled "Children Are a Blessing, Not a Bother." So if we get ourselves in the right mindset, we're going to see children that way. And then I'm going to link Conrad Roga's most recent episode titled "Breaking the Cycle." It's episode 121. And there are a few things that I want to talk about that he mentioned. So he talked about this young woman, Sherry Frankie, who is Ruby Frankie's daughter, and they're part of the LDS, the Mormon Church, and the mother, Ruby Frankie, and another woman were abusing their children because they were making money on them from internet blogging, because it's like a big, thing to show this perfect internet life within the LDS Church, within the Mormon culture and community. It's like becoming a big money-making thing. And so, of course, the money is... Not only that, I mean, their abusive culture was basically like what was causing the manipulation, but it wasn't made any better. And in fact, the money was aggravating the problem. So that's what's happening now, you know, in our world in all these different ways. But that's especially what's happening. And then becoming the driving factor of abuse is the mass enslavement and murder of animals, because that's being driven by money. So in the same way that these their parents' abuse was being driven by money, because they're making money vlogging on the internet to show their perfect life. So he talked about asking for help and being available, and which is how these children got out of the abusive, abuse that they were in at the hand of their mom and this other woman. Is the younger brother went to the neighbor's house and rang the doorbell and asked for help. And he almost didn't make it, it almost wasn't known. And I thought to myself, like, this is connected, and I need to show people this is connected, and I shouldn't feel like wrong for making this connection, because abuse happens because it's not known about, and no one speaks up about it. And so, like, the underlying massive abuse that's happening to animals is what's driving the massive abuse happening to other humans by other humans. Like, but it's unseen, so no one knows about it. It just shows up as a burger, it shows up on our plate, and an animal, a living being with feelings, who doesn't want to die, had to die to show up on our plate for a little bit of whatever of that animal's dead body that we're consuming. So, like, that's under the surface of all of this. It is important. I'm not making a big deal out of it for no reason. So I'm asking for help, and I'm going to read about specifically what I need help with. And another point that I really liked that Conrad made was making it right doesn't require an apology from the abuser, just for the victim to stand up and change. So I'm not asking for anyone to, not to compare this again, but I guess I will, because this is the point that I'm making. Like, for people in my life, I'm not saying, like, I'm a victim and you're an abuser, but, like, people don't need to go on and on about how sorry they are that, they realized what we're doing to animals, and they don't want to be part of it anymore. In all of this, like, in our communities and whatever, it doesn't need people need to grovel endlessly to each other about how wrong they were. It's like, we'll just make a change. It's not going to happen all at once, I understand, but, like, I'm making a change, and I'm going to keep moving forward with that change, and I'm going to keep telling people why I changed and why I think they should change, and why I'm telling that because I love them and because that would be what's best for them. So I'm never going to stop. Like, I'm never going to go back. So it's whoever's choice to, like, join me with that. You don't have to be a perfect person to join me with that. So I kind of already mentioned, but Sherry Frankie was basically testifying in court and talking about how the internet vlogging and people, families, like in the case of Ruby Frankie, like, making a lot of money off of being an influencer online, and basically using their children as almost like paid actors. They're not even paid to get money from these platforms, from YouTube, like, whatever, however they're making money to basically, it's like a reality TV show. So they're using their children as a reality TV show. And Sherry was testifying in court about what a serious situation this is. And not just for what she experienced and her siblings experienced, but for all these other children with all these other families that are making money off of their children. And money is driving that, and the computing technology and the internet are driving that. So, and then the base of that, because people think it's totally fine and don't think twice about using animals and doing what we're doing to them. Most people don't. That now is the driving force in affecting how we treat children. Because if you think about it, it's, the most capable whatever beings or humans in our society, and, doing what we're doing to animals and using money in order to continue that cycle. So if you think you can dominate animals, of course, or if we think we can dominate animals, of course we're going to think that it's okay to dominate children, and people aren't going to speak up about that generally, you know. But that problem is not going to be solved on the whole until the problem of us mass murdering and enslaving animals is solved. So how can we help the children? Like what I'm asking help with, how I need to communicate to the natural law crowd and the more conscious people online that have found out about all of these hidden things going on in the world that are what's causing humanity's enslavement. Like, you guys more than anyone need to understand how serious this is. Like, it's not just like we can talk about all these other freedom related things and ignore what we're doing to animals. So as a woman, like, I care deeply about the children in my life. I care about everyone in my life. Like, I want there to be a better world for them. And I know that standing up for the animals is standing up for children. Because if we're, first of all, what we're feeding our children, what we're agreeing on is okay within our communities, within, as adults, what we're agreeing on tacitly, that it's fine to just keep doing what we're doing to animals, is directly affecting how we view children. It's directly affecting how we're not able to focus on the more important things. And money and technology are just feeding that. So I'm going to read a short piece that I wrote that I'm going to read in the next video, but it's important to get across in this one too. We have to undo the animalistic mindset and work on our own communities and children. So if we're going to worry about child abuse happening outside of our communities, of course we have to worry about child abuse happening within our communities. That's why it's so important for me to communicate this message to people in my life who have kids too, because like what you're feeding your kid, if you're feeding them meat and dairy, is you're feeding them death, you're feeding them suffering that they're taking into their body. You don't have to be a perfect person and let go of it right away, but you have to have the attitude of becoming plant-based is what's going to be best for you. It's what's going to be best for your kid. And I have to tell you that. I have to speak up about it, because it is maybe at a lower level, but nonetheless, it is child abuse to be feeding your children those things. Aside from all the other things that I see people feeding children, like you're feeding them the dead body of an animal. I can't sugarcoat it anymore. It doesn't mean I don't love you. You know, I'm telling you this because I love you. We have to clear our minds from eating dead animals and develop the minds of the kids, like, and clear their minds too. So I'm going to talk about these 3 things in this next piece that I'm going to read. And I guess this video will be longer than I intended it to be. Or you know what? I'm just going to talk about these things and read this piece in the next video. So these are things I want to talk about, like, besides talking to Dan Alexander and learning what he has to teach, then as a person, things that I'm working towards and what I need to get other people's help with is growing our own food. So that means becoming plant-based too, because we're not going to be completely independent in a food source kind of way unless we're plant-based. We need to let go of money. We need to let go of computing technology. And if we do those things, we're actually going to be here for the kids. Like, we need to address the difficult things. The main abuse in our world is the murder and enslavement of animals, and that's feeding the other abuse. So, with that, love you guys. See you in the next one. Thank you. I know it's hard to hear, but you got to hear it, so love you.